Hi, Teacher Riga here, back again to promote my IGCSE First Language English online tuition. I teach years 6 to 11, so if you're interested in working together to score that A star, feel free to WhatsApp me today. Now, let's talk about narrative writing. Basically, story, right? This is the formula. Plot plus character equals story. Plot is the events that happen in your story. That's where you get that story arc, introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, right? Character, you have to think about two things. Characterization, which is giving that main character personality, and then character development. So they don't have something. By the end of your story, they have something. This way you can think about a flaw. Let's say they're dishonest in the beginning. Through everything that happens in the story, they learn to be honest at the end, right? So let's say they are careless in the beginning, they become careful by the end. They're a scaredy cat in the beginning, they become brave by the end, right? So you can easily think about a flaw, like a personality weakness, and then what type of story can you tell for them to gain those skills, that knowledge, right? To change, to improve, to grow. Okay, so when it comes to plot, introduction, introduce your main character, introduce your setting, the time, place, weather, introduce the mood and genre. Is this going to be a comedy, action, horror, right? And so the rising action, you give us a problem to solve, right? So you introduce the problem. And this problem can be internally, character versus self, like something wrong here. Like I have a flaw, I have a problem, right? And if you're doing character development, this is already there. Or you can have a problem with other people. Other people are the villains that you have to overcome. So that's character versus other people. And then the third version is character versus everything outside here, the environment. Right? It's like nobody's fault. It's just the way it is. Like it's the weather, it's the nation outside of you, outside of other people, right? So let me give you some examples, because then in the climax, we have to make a decision about these problems, right? How are we going to solve them? So let's say character versus self. Let's say you're very stressed about exams, and like the pressure to perform well. And so you think like, maybe I should cheat in my exams because then at least I can guarantee a good score. And you're very stressed about that. So it's like, should you be dishonest, right? That's like the internal struggle of character versus self in this story. So in this story, in your climax, you make a choice. You can either choose the good path or the bad path. Both teaches us something, right? So if your main character chooses to cheat in the exam, then in the falling action, they have to face the consequences of their bad behavior, right? So maybe the teacher spots them and then they get 0 for the exam. And that like is embarrassing, and that is heartbreaking, right? So that's the negative path. But if you take the positive path, maybe after so much contemplation, they decide, no, this is not me. I'm not going to cheat in my exam. I'm going to try my best, study as hard as I can, and whatever marks I get, I'm going to be happy with it. And so then maybe the reward in the falling action is that they do score well and they feel confident about themselves and they can sleep well at night knowing they didn't choose to do the wrong thing, right? So yes, that's an example of character versus self. Let's see, character versus other people. Let's say you're a good student and you're just going about your day, but then your friends are very curious about vaping. And so they, get their hands on some vape and then go to like a secluded part in school where nobody goes to that place. And then they invite you to join them and to try vaping because everybody's curious about it, but it's bad for your health. It could ruin your lungs and you could get demerits, punishments, like your parents could be called to school. So the problem there is with other people, right? They are a bad influence. And so in the climax, you have to make a choice. The character has to either try the vape or not try the vape, right? And so again, whether you choose the right path or the wrong path, it's fine, but you have to play out like something good happens out of that or something bad happens out of that. We call it consequences or rewards in the following action. So let's say you do try it and then you get caught, and then now your parents are called to school, and then you get suspended, right? Or you choose to say no, you try to advise your friends not to vape, and then you leave, right? And so your friends get caught, but you are safe. So you later on maybe go and tell the teacher about it and try to solve this vape issue in school even, right? Okay, so that's character versus other people. There's a villain in the story, right? The third one, character versus the environment. That is, for example, like, you know, it's the flooding season and your house got flooded, and so what do you do about that, right? So the problem is the flood, and then the climax of the story, you know, save as many important documents as you can. You help your parents like try to get to a safer place, and like, yeah, how you go about like your feelings and emotions about that. And then after the flood, like how do you come back and like help your parents clean up, right? That's the following action. So yeah, think about a problem, and then in the climax you have to make a decision whether how you want to solve this problem, right? And then you have to play out like what happens after that. And then in the ending, basically conclusion, you can tell me how things change, right? Like, how are you a better person now? Did you learn a lesson? Things like that. Yeah, so that's plot. And so that's what you need to do to give a good story. If you want more tips and techniques, past your paper practice, more effective feedback, feel free to hire me as your tutor, and we can work together to score that A star.